So hello everyone, welcome to Agile Minds Romania. I'm Bogdan Basilescu and I'm excited to be here together with my co-organizing partners. We have here Mihai Olaru, Florin Manonescu, and also Cristina Lupo. Together we're passionate about fostering agility in all domains. So whether you're a seasoned Agile veteran or you're just starting your learning journey, this is the place to grow, share insights, and basically improve our way of working. Today, we're hosting Matt DiBerardino, who will be guiding us through a leadership journey inspired from Ted Lasso. If you guys got the chance to see the series, if not, don't worry. Those things that Matt will basically present us are practical and universal. So, before stealing more out of the show, I'm passing the hammer actually to Mihai. Catch it with both hands. Well, actually, I threw it in the wrong direction, so catch it here. Mihai, you're on mute, by the way.
I'm on mute. Sorry, this is a hammer. I caught it right? This is it coming from Bogdan. So thank you, Matt, for joining our session tonight. Thank you, Bogdan, for the grand opening. While people are still joining, I want to invite you in a very short icebreaker. Is going to take just a few minutes or so. I had a bit of fun last night preparing it, so at least if you don't find too much value in it, at least let's hope you can have a little bit of fun. So I will share my screen now with a bit of sound, and once you see that, you will be able to either
we hear the sound, Mihai, but we cannot see the screen.
Go to bluekit.com and enter that game ID 307-5007. Once everyone is there, we can start. You just have to type in your name or something like a nickname that you want to show. You don't have to log in or anything. I'll do the same, just for the sake of proving this thing works, right? So let me see. Okay, we already have Chris and Matt, and this is me, an Agile player. We have an anonymous Agile player here. People are still joining, so I'll let Donna in. Maybe she can participate as well. There's still room, right? There's still room, so quite a few participants can join this game. Unlike Kahoot, is unlimited as number of users. This is what I learned. So you can enjoy it or create one for your team as well if you like it. Mihai Viteazu, that's a good name for a character in this game. Yeah. Bogthor, that's Bogdan. Judging by the hammer he showed earlier.
No, I'm Chris. I'm Chris, Mihai.
You're Chris. Okay. So again, to play this game, you either go to play.bluekit.com and enter this game ID 307-5007, or you can actually take a picture of the QR code and it will lead you there, asking for a nickname. Once you're there, the challenge is to win the race, right? This is the thing we have to do. We're gonna run a race. Anyone can participate in the race, but we'll only have one winner of the race, right? To win the race, you have to answer correctly to 10 questions in a row, 10 questions straight, right? So get your fingers ready. Some of the answers are single choice. Some of the answers you have to type in. So, right? We can start, I think. We have a lot of players already. Anyone still needs to join? Okay, let's see. You can join afterwards as well, but some other people will be leading. So giving it you into 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Ready, set, go!
I'm still waiting for my race to start. I'm not sure about you, how you're going so fast, but who let the dogs out? It must have been the sales department, right? Outcomes over outputs. That's a good question. And where are you connecting from? Anyone see that question? I'm not in Africa or Australia, really. Oh, already a winner, I think. Let's wait a bit for someone else to join. And we have our final standings. Here you are. Manolo, you said you won't compete.
I didn't mean to complete it. I didn't figure it out. It's already done.
He told me before this game is dangerous because he might win it because he's too competitive. So I could give a chance to somebody else and play again, but probably it's enough for today. So
Sure,
since you're the winner, Manolo, right?
Yeah.
And you deserve a prize. I'm going to pass this. It's not a hammer anymore. It's a small dinosaur or something, right? And it will go your way. Pick it up, Manolo.
I took it, and now the dino transformed into a duck. So yes, today we are proud to have Matt with us. Matt, it's a former cartographer and software developer with over 25 years of experience building products. In the past 8 years serving as an agile leader. He is also a fellow guide to the Road to Mastery program and also co-trained several agile courses. Trivia, he was once voted most likely to take on aliens and actually win. And his passion is guiding people and teams in delivering value. Also, he likes to collect soccer or football T-shirts. And I'm proud to consider myself a friend. We did Road to Mastery together, and since 2-3 years ago, we are meeting on a monthly basis. So that being said, Matt, happy to have you here. The stage is yours. So good luck.
Great. Thank you very much. As Manolo said, I've had a varied and interesting history. I want to make sure I am sharing my audio first. Excellent. So welcome. Today, I want to talk about leadership, and we're going to kind of do it through the lens of Ted Lasso. I know not everybody's on camera, but if you can use your hand raise function, that'd be great. Have a couple quick questions. Who here has ever left a team or left a company because of a leader? All right, keeping your hands up. Let's see who's joined a team or stayed with the team because of a leader. We have, as you can see, there's a lot of people with their hands raised. So you can really see the impact that leadership has, both positive and negative, right? So let's bring this together here. So leadership to believe in, what is that going to be? Well, let's figure that out. So we're basing it off of the show Ted Lasso. And if you've never seen the show, it's on Apple TV. It's about an American football coach who gets hired to coach a Premier League soccer team. So he's obviously out of his depth. So he uses a lot of behaviors and traits and optimism, and really comes down to belief, to become a leader that can overcome a lot of adversity. And that's some great lessons in here throughout. So it's not just a show about soccer. It's actually more of a feel-good leadership show. So what is leadership to believe in? There are 7 pillars of impactful leadership is what I'm kind of calling it now. You know, we're using the acrostic believe. So we want to believe in our people, right? We want to be enabling to them. We need to understand our limit of authority within our leadership. Inclusion, there's another pillar. How do we include the people, not just within our team, and we'll look at that. Empathy, our leaders' superpower. This is a very big one. Vulnerable, how that has a positive impact on a team. And then the last pillar we'll talk about is ego. because that can be very, very good, but it can also be the biggest detriment to us. So during this talk, we will also, I will be showing some video clips from the TV show. They are unedited, so there will be some locker room talk, locker room language, fruity language as we call it. It's not meant to offend. It's look beyond the language at what's happening in the clip, because they are part of each pillar. So, all right. So we're going to begin with belief, right? That's how we start with. So belief is really, what you really want to talk about with belief is that it's, with Ted, he really believes in his ability to have an impact on people, right? He also believes in the people around him and believes that and he wants to help them believe in themselves. And that's something that's very important as leaders. Right? One of the famous clips is like, he's asked, does he believe in ghosts? Well, he's like, yeah, but more importantly, they should believe in themselves. So that shows you right off the bat his type of mindset. But something it's really kind of important about believing in people. I really kind of want to make this distinction. It's not about believing in a person's potential to do something. It's not about that. And that's something I learned the hard way. And I actually learned this the hard way with my son. So let me explain. My son, plays soccer. He's, at age 10, he was playing against 12-year-olds. So kids who are, boys who are bigger, stronger, faster than him. But he's really good enough to be on this team. And I kept saying, he's like, I don't know. It's like, no, great. I believe in you. I believe in your potential to be one of these great players on this team. You'll be one of these starters because you're smart, you're good, you work hard, all this stuff. And all of that was true. And he works hard and he's smart. He understands the game. And he is a starter on his team. He's a starter on his baseball team because he has chosen to become a baseball player and not play soccer. And that was really a learning point, a really kind of switch. Like, I was pushing my expectations on him. I wanted him to play soccer, not because I played. I never played. I never got into it until I started coaching him. But I really wanted him to do it. But that's not what he wanted. So when you're believing in somebody's potential to be this, I think I've seen it in one of my teams. I saw somebody, I believe you're going to be a great manager, so you're going to be promoted to manager. But that wasn't his way. That wasn't part of his journey. So when you believe in somebody, when you believe in their potential, you're putting your expectations on them. Believing in somebody means you believe in their ability to navigate their choices. And it's more about their outcomes versus your outputs, right? So it's very, very, important to understand that little connection there. So I'm going to step back, and with these pillars, we're going to go through each of these pillars. And at the end of each pillar, I'm going to give you a reflection point to talk about how these pillars have impacted you. So we're going to come to the first one. So when you didn't believe in yourself, how did that impact your relationships with people? So write a word or two down, write some notes. I'll give you a minute to think about that.
You can always use the chat for that if you want to make a public note.
That's fine if somebody wants to type it in. I don't have the chat. I don't have the words easily prompted. Excellent. I didn't even think of that. That's a great thought. I'm used to doing this where there's no interaction, so I appreciate the assist there. All right. So I'm going to move on to the next pillar, which is enabling. Right? And what enabling is we talked about belief, and belief is about wanting the people to be the best versions of themselves. Well, enabling is going out, now you want to help them as a leader, right? So you want to help them become the best versions of themselves. And there's a great scene. It is probably my favorite scene. It is the one that resonates with me the most. Coming up, it's Nate, who's the kit man. And he lacks confidence. And Nate is my spirit animal. I know. I think my former boss is here, Amber. She thinks of me as Roy Kent, mainly because I'm old and I swear a lot. But the reality is, I am Nate. I am the little guy who doesn't believe in himself. Right off the bat, I'm one who's that. Well, Ted sees more than that, and he knows that he hasn't seen the best of Nate. He hasn't seen the best Nate there is. So he's going to help him and set him up for a way to do that. And we'll watch the video clip and watch Nate and watch the reactions with everybody. And we'll show you what I mean.
Also, I read through your thoughts.
Yeah.
They're great. And I agree with every last one. But I can't say this to you.
But I need to hear it.
I agree. That's why you're going to do it.
Are you drunk?
You're giving the pregame talk. You're going to read him this.
I know.
It'll be fun.
No. Oh my God.
All right, listen up, fellas. As of late, I feel like y'all have heard enough of my jibber jabber, so I asked Nate the Great here to jot down a few of his thoughts and ideas about you guys and today's game. So let's focus up. All yours, Nate.
Come on, boy, you got this here, right? You got this, Nate, it's okay.
Okay, thank you. Let's do it. Isaac.
Oh, yeah, you got this, brother, right? Yeah.
I've noticed of late that you've been playing like a big dumb pussy.
Wow. What the fuck do you say to me, bruv?
You're more concerned about looking tough than actually being tough. There's a way to be intimidating without being physical. I hope you don't mind me saying. Sam.
Oh, no.
You're constantly getting beat on the wings. It's because you're indecisive. You second guess more than a shitty psychic. The only African I know more imprisoned by their own thoughts is goddamn Nelson Mandela. Do you read that? Oh, you think that's funny, do you, Colin? You know your fancy step over bullshit. Let me ask you this. Do you wax your pubes?
What?
Did I stutter, dickhead? Do you wax your pubes, yes or no?
No.
Then why are you always trying to play like a Brazilian? Yeah.
What just happened?
Rojas.
Ooh, roast me, amigo.
Right, you say that football is life, right?
Football is life.
Yeah, well, then your defence is death. The only person I've seen lose a man more often is Carrie fucking Bradshaw.
Sex and the City. Shh.
Yeah?
Tough but fair.
Right, Roy.
Go on. Say what you're going to say.
Okay.
Don't read it. Say it to my face.
The great Roy Kent. You're old now. And slow. And your focus drifts. But your speed and your smarts were never what made you who you are. It's your anger. That's your superpower. That's what made you one of the best midfielders in the history of this league. But I haven't seen it on the pitch at all this season, Roy. I mean, you used to run like you were angry at the grass. You'd kick the ball like you'd got it fucking your wife, Christ's sake. But that anger doesn't come out anymore when you play. But it's still in there. And I'm afraid of what it's going to do to you if you just keep it all for yourself.
Let's go get these fuckers.
See, told you it'd be fun.
And the impossible has happened. Richmond have won at Everton.
That look at the end of Nate is priceless. That is how somebody feels when they're a Nate. And I'll give a real quick intro. You know, Manolo and I referenced the trip to Amsterdam where we met with the Road to Mastery crew. I had in a similar situation with this. Short, who organized it, we were talking one day, and he's like, "Hey, I'm thinking about having a talk on Ted Lasso being a good Scrum Master." And I said, "Hey," I said, "that's a cool idea. I'd like that idea." He's like, "Great, you're gonna do it." So that look of sheer terror on Nate's face in the beginning is true. Is when somebody's lacking confidence and not believing in themselves. When you enable them, you change that, "Oh dear God, what's going on?" That changes everything, right? And creating that enabling culture and that leader helps their team, right? You can help that where people are going to develop and grow and then thrive again, right? How impactful would that have been to the team if Ted actually read what Nate said? Do you think that would have been effective? Do you think that would have riled up the team? More importantly, what about Nate? How would that have impacted Nate if Ted read that? I mean, sure, he probably would have been happy, like, "I'm not going to read anything yet. I'm going to be back here," right? But you're not going to get that reaction from a leader. You're not going to be able to share that look of proudness that Ted shows of Nate because Nate did it. So as an enabling leader, you want to create that environment where they're not going to, I don't want to say not going to fail, it's not going to be a disaster, right? Good leaders understand that and know how to do that. They know how to push just enough, not push them in the deep end, but let go of them, right? So another reflection point. So in a word or two, who pushed you to grow? And what changed because of it? I told about Stuart and me doing this talk. Another leader who's pushed me is, I'll reference her till the end, is Amber, who's on here. She pushed me hard, when I worked for her, and I can't thank her enough for that. So feel free to share in the chat what your thoughts on this. How have you changed from a leader who really challenged you? Thanks for sharing, Manolo. Yeah, maybe we've had more than one. As a husband and father, I understand that one completely.
And I'm thankful for that.
Yeah. Yeah, and it could very well be an event as well. But as a leader, when you push somebody and you do that, we saw with Ted, he had that look of proudness of what Nate did. And you saw how Nate reacted. You saw him stand up taller. And that smile, which, like I said, that to me is my favorite scene in the entire show.
My observation, if you don't mind, Matt, is that you actually resemble a bit the looks of the coach, not Nate. You put yourself in the shoes of Nate, but I see you more resembling the personality and even appearance of the coach.
I appreciate that. But it also shows that another great thing about the show is you can see yourself in many different characters through their arcs, because life is a journey, isn't it? So is our careers.
Has no limits, right? So here is to the next pillar.
May I add something, Matt, if we still have the time?
Absolutely.
I think what also helped Nate with that situation was the fact that even the team members pushed him and supported him. Like he said, "Come on, Nate, come on, please speak up. I mean, we're here for you. Don't worry." So they created the right environment for him to actually speak up. Because if it was a negative, let's say, feeling from the team, maybe he would have pushed himself back and entered that cocoon and not be sharing too much. So I think it was a team effort, not only the coach. I didn't watch the TV series, but this is what the video sent to me.
That's a great observation. And yes, and as we talk about the different pillars going on, when you think back to this clip, because it's not in an order. So some of these clips you're going to see are actually like the next clip we're going to see is actually before where this happens in the show's timeline. So yes, you will see that it is the team. It is the foundation that Ted built through, empathy and vulnerability, which we'll talk to later on, but as well as believing in everybody, because it starts with the belief. But Ted also understands his limits. And I'm not just talking about knowledge, right? Because, as we kind of said, he was American football coach coming to soccer, so he has no idea. He doesn't know anything about the game. That's why he surrounds himself with talent, right? So it's not, but I don't want to talk about limits of knowledge, because that's, we can fix that. I hang around Manola because he's smart, right? So that's why, I get the help from that. And I learn leadership from people like Amber and good leaders and bad leaders. I want to talk about limits on authority, right? And how that has an impact on you, right? When to step in, when not to step in. And this clip is a great example of it. And watch, and we'll go back to Nate. Watch how the team is reacting to Nate currently in this. This happens in one of the earlier shows.
Colin, Isaac, please stop. Yeah, it really hurts now. Really hurts.
Be careful, Colin. Nah, that's our new coach.
Oh, right, boyo. Sorry, Gaffer. Nice one, bitch boy.
Hey.
Yeah, I just thought you should know that your boy Nathan's been harassed every single day by Jamie and his little side pricks.
Right.
So you know already?
Yep.
So you'll take care of it?
No.
What the fuck?
Roy, I learned 2 pretty big lessons on the rough and tumble playgrounds of Brookridge Elementary School. One, if Lil Ronnie Fouch offers you a candy bar, you immediately say no and you get the hell out of there. Because there's a good chance that little son of a gun has just pooped inside of a Butterfinger wrapper. No one ever saw him do it, but a couple of people ate it. Number 2, if the teacher tells a bully not to pick on someone, it's just gonna make it worse.
So you're not gonna do anything?
No.
Why are you winding him up?
He's the one, Coach. We're gonna make an impact here. First domino needs to fall right inside that man's heart.
Damon, can I ask you something?
It's 40 kilos, do 3 sets of 10, and then I alternate between buys and tries.
I don't give a shit while you lift, you little pretty boy.
Yeah, you do, because you asked. Can you kill 40 kilos?
Oh, but I can use your balls as a speed bag. Do you want to try that?
Not especially.
Do you even understand the influence you have on this team?
I'm the shit.
No, you're a bellend. But because your right foot was kissed by God, the boys look up to you. It's made me question my own faith. So when they pick on Nate, and you laugh,
Yeah.
they think it's okay.
Right, because Nate's a weak baby and he can't do anything about it. Yeah, all right. I'll take care of it. Nate's a good lad.
Good.
So what happens? What do we see? One of the players comes to Coach Lasso and says, something's going on. And what does Ted do? He doesn't do anything. With leadership, when we come out and we solve the problems of the team or for our people we work with, we're limiting ourselves. We're not limiting them. We're actually limiting ourselves. Right? Think of a Scrum Master, or as Agile, think of the Scrum Master where everything comes through me, right? I'm the one going to solve the problems. I'm the one who needs to know all these things. So you have to come to me before things go happen, right? I was like that early on in my career as a Scrum Master. I didn't realize the impact I had on others. I was limiting my own ability because I was not allowing the followers, right? I was kind of dragging them. They really weren't followers. More importantly, I was not allowing my followers to become leaders, right? And as a leader, you want to grow the next leaders. We want self-managing teams, as we talk about within Agile. But if we're limiting the things or we're solving the problems, we're not creating the self-managing teams. We're creating dependent teams. All right? So thinking about that, so think about it from a different perspective. How do you feel when somebody sets limits on you? Maybe you're on that team where everything has to go through that Scrum Master. Or maybe you're working within a framework where you're only supposed to do this thing. And here's your guide rails. So how does that feel when that happens? Feel free to. I invite you to put it in the chat. Or you can keep it. Yeah, feeling stuck, demotivated. Yeah. Absolutely. More great thoughts. Awesome. So we're going to kind of hit this middle pillar, inclusion, right? We talk about inclusion, it's the act of including and providing access to everybody, right? And it's one of these little things that I've noticed with this show, with the TV show that I've watched over and over again. The first two people he meets in the show, part of AFC Richmond, the first two people of the team he meets is the kit man, who, as we saw in the last clip, usually like bottom of the barrel, the locker room attendant. He's not really there. He's not really a person. And the second person he meets is Rebecca, the team owner. So you're talking, this way, right? I don't think that setup is by accident. I think that was kind of an intentional thing. Because it goes with how Ted thinks of things and how we should. A team isn't just the development team. We think of, I've seen leaders or managers who, we've seen agile transformations where it's the development teams only who are doing the agile stuff, and everybody outside isn't part of it. But we're all part of that team. We're all part of this team in the company. If the product doesn't work, it's not just the developers who are out. Marketing takes a hit. Middle management takes a hit. So we're all part of this team. So how do we bring those people together, right? And we think about inclusion. We think about it along terms of, gender identity, race. As a team lead, we're going to think about these as roles. We also, we want people from different experiences to share those experiences, right? Whether you're a business person or a developer, everybody has different experiences. Manolo and I, coming from 2 different continents, we have different experiences that we share constantly along with some of our cohort. But something that Ted does, and we kind of touched on this, is he switches that, and it's not just at the team level. He's constantly talking to Rebecca, his boss. He's constantly including Nate, who's the kit man. They're all part of the team. And as leaders, that's what we want. Because if I'm doing this with my team and we're just doing this, how do we know the impact we're having? How do we know if our outcomes are actually being something positive for the company? Right? So when it comes to inclusion, here's another reflection point on this. Inclusion means seeing value in people where others might overlook. So we see it with Nate, and we see that with Rebecca, where he's always in that office talking to her. So let's think about another reflection point. Is the importance of inclusion is, okay, when you've been left out, how did that affect you? And how have you felt when your voice hasn't been heard? How does that make you feel as a person or as a teammate? Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, some great thoughts. Retreating back and being an introvert. Yeah, I've done that. You don't feel part of the team. You're unimportant. Right? Your opinion doesn't matter. Those are great thoughts. And yeah, that's some things that can happen. We're experiencing that. We've seen that. So, not being seen, not being heard, not being included is very harmful to your people, to your team, to yourself. Right? So you really want to kind of learn to understand what's going on. And with that, you kind of want to be empathy. This is the leader superpower. This is that one thing is like, ooh, this is when a good leader is empathetic, it can really make a big difference to them, to the team, right? And it's really about, understanding people and understanding and sharing their feelings with you. Now I'm going to pull another clip from the show. Sam, who's one of the star players from Africa, new home, and he's struggling. And there's lots of different ways they could approach this as coaches, right? And watch how Ted does. Watch how he leads with empathy on this.
Got a question for you. What's the buzz on Sam here? Seems a little down in the dumps.
Yeah, he's been underachieving since he got here from Nigeria.
Yeah, well, first time away from home is never easy.
Sam's down in every stat since Nigeria. Maybe the Premiership's too much for him.
No, he just needs to get a little more comfy here, that's all.
Well, he turns 20 on Saturday.
There we go. Birthday. We'll do something special for him. Nudge that ship in the right direction, yeah?
That's all we got for you, except for one thing. And that's happy birthday, Sam!
Hey, man, you guys got me chin-chin.
No, wow, this is all I used to eat growing up.
Well, we know you haven't been home in a while, so we thought we'd bring some home to you.
You guys, man. Is she gone?
Hey, happy birthday, Sam.
Thank you, Coach.
Palace win and Richmond lose 4-1. The only bright spot being the defensive play of Sam Obisanya.
So, as you see, Sam's struggling, right? And there's a lot of easy ways to take care of it. Beard says maybe the premiership's just too much, right? Basically saying he's not good enough to be here. But Ted doesn't believe that. Obviously, he believes in everybody's ability, but he also understands there's more to it, right? Because he's not just listening to respond. He's listening to understand. He's leading with empathy. And it's important to know that empathy is not just about understanding what somebody's going through. Actually, it's not about understanding what someone's going through. It's knowing and understanding that they are going through something. That's where empathy really helps. Somebody's struggling. A few people said in the chat where they've had life-changing events, and they're going through something. Some managers or leaders aren't going to care. They don't have this empathy. This pillar has crumbled for them. But others, they understand you're going through something and they're going to help. Because they're not just listening. They're not listening to respond, they're listening to understand, but they're not just listening to what's being said. They're listening to what's not being said. Because that's a huge thing. Somebody can say, I'm fine. But are they? Are you listening to what they're not saying? When you feel understood, it can result in a higher level of performance. We saw that at the clip, right? Who had the best game? It was Sam, because he finally felt understood. He finally felt like somebody cared. And it changed the way he played. It improved, right? Not that he was a bad player, but the coach got more out of him. So let's think about that. How about times when you've needed empathy, but really just got advice instead, right? How did that feel? I've run into this with one of my friends. I still consider him a friend from the road to mastery, but when I would kind of say something, he would immediately go into coaching and try to give me advice. And that's not what I needed at that point. And it was very frustrating for me to deal with him. If he wasn't in England, I would have punched him. But then again, I'm from Philly, so violence is a thing. What about you? What are times when you've needed that understanding? And so you just got advice. Give me a minute to think about that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Christina, I feel like you're doing something wrong. That's a great observation. Yeah. All these things are important, right? When the product owner teaches the team how to build stuff, yeah. I'm sure we've all shown up one way or the other as well. and you've seen other people, how it's impacted you, where they've come without empathy. Our next pillar, when you kind of learn to talk and listen and understand people and understand they're going through with empathy, it kind of leads us to our next pillar, which is vulnerable, right? Showing how to, being vulnerable it can really help a team, right? It's showing up as your full self, even when it's hard, right? Somebody's not, not playing well. And it's still early, so Ted hasn't created that environment where Sam can say, I'm struggling because I'm new. I'm new in a new place, right? So Ted leads with empathy. And that empathy will lead to can help a leader create that vulnerable environment. One of the, something that really kind of touched on this with me in my journey is very early in my Scrum Master career, I actually took my team in one of our retros and kind of, I did, for those familiar with liberating structures, I did a TRIZ. What are the worst things a Scrum Master can do to really mess up our delivery? And they had fun with it, and they put all kinds of cool things, and they, filled the, they were all smart and filled the wall up with the sticky notes. This is obviously in person. And I was like, okay, great. Now, what are the things that what are the things on this list that you've created where Scrum Master can really mess you up? What are the things I'm doing? Because I need help. I'm not sure where I can help you. At first they were like, nope, no, you're doing everything great. No. So I went first and asked how I can be doing better. And that kind of, me showing myself as vulnerable, I didn't understand the impact that had until later on in another retro where I had two developers who were fighting. They both at one point kind of came to me and said, hey, either you move him or you move me off this team. Having talked to them one-on-one, I knew the problem wasn't personal. So what actually wound up happening by me being vulnerable early on created that culture within that team where the one mid-level kind of said to the senior levels, like, hey, when you're exhibiting this behavior, here's what I'm feeling now. And here's where I struggle with. And it really kind of tied on with their relationship because the senior was like, oh my God, I was like, I didn't realize that. And to show the impact it had is that after that, the senior level and the mid-level who couldn't stand each other, who would actually come to me as the intermediary, were now collaborating together, working together, coming up with ideas. And the senior level is now, okay, you want to be promoted. Here are the things that at this place the senior developer needs to be doing. So I'm going to start having you help me with these. All right. In the show, there's a great scene where they burn things, and the team shows vulnerability. And the quote here I'm putting up, that is a team united. When you have that vulnerability as a leader, you're creating that safe space. You're creating that space where you're safe here. You can bring that here. You can be your true self. That's that psychological safety what we hear about, right? And when you create that vulnerability and that vulnerable environment, and you embrace that as a leader, you're going to create that environment that nurtures trust and openness and safety. And it's going to lead to greater innovation and greater productivity and greater creativity and a lot more growth with your team. I'm sure we've all seen that. So when were you vulnerable? How to make, and what made you feel safe enough to do it? Right? As a team member, was it the leader showing vulnerability? and creating that space and making sure there's no judgment. Give you a minute to think about that. I explained this, like, when I did it, it was more from I need help knowing what I'm supposed to do next to help my team. From Dave's perspective, my level, it was more of, this is not a great environment for us as a team. Yeah. It's a great point, Christina. Made it okay to fail, made it okay to ask questions and learn. As a leader, when you create that environment that allows that vulnerability, this is where these things come into play. And that's important, right? Because we're working together as a team. We don't want to be a group of individuals. We've seen, I'm sure we've all been on that team where it's just a bunch of people thrown together. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes they want it to work and sometimes they don't. But as a team, when you want to build good stuff together, and that team that I talked about, it wasn't the best team in the organization. It was absolutely one of the most fun teams I've ever been a part of because we cared about each other. And from that regard, it was one of the better teams in that organization. We weren't building the great stuff that others were, and we were okay with that. We had our niche and we were killing it. Our last pillar we're going to talk about is the big one, ego. Right? Ego shows up in many different ways, and it's healthy. When it's healthy, it shows up as confident. But really, when it's unhealthy, that's the part of the ego we want to kind of talk about, because everybody's got an ego, right? We confident, you know what you do, but when it's unhealthy and you make it about you, that's the part we want to kind of talk about. And this clip here with Jamie, who's the team star, we see what happens with the leader, right? We see what happens with people with egos. So let's show this real quick.
And you have to wonder, where would Richmond be without him?
Hey, highlighter. We got ourselves a sub. 16's going in from 9. Okay. Appreciate you, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, it looks like Lasso is making an early substitution here. He's bringing Roberts on and he's taking off Jamie Tart.
Me?
You don't know what you're doing! You don't know what you're doing! You don't know what you're doing!
What on earth? He's taking off his best player, and with less than a minute remaining in the half.
Robbie Roberts. For number 9, Jamie Tart.
Hey, way to play out there. Way to get us back in.
Shut up. Fucking stupid swat.
The referee looks at his watch, and that's half-time. What kind of reception awaits Lasso in his locker room?
So we saw in that clip, Jamie, who's the team's best player. But if you notice, he's not part of the team. And it's not like Coach didn't invite him to be part of the team. It's not like everybody wants him to be part of the team. But he doesn't want to be. Even to the point where if you notice their uniforms, everybody had on long blue sleeves, except for Jamie. He had white. So he dressed differently. And when he scored, what was he doing? He was celebrating himself, right? He's pointing at the back of his jersey. It's all about me. It's all about me. So when Lasso pulls him, you see the reaction of the team like, wow, okay, that's different. And that I wanted to show that clip because it shows you what an unhealthy ego can do to a team. It really doesn't make a team or doesn't make you part of that team, right? You know, when you have that ego, when you have that unhealthy ego, it keeps you out of touch with reality. It causes you to look for that external validation. It gives you an overconfidence of your ability, right? Overestimation of what you can really do. It creates that block where you're not going to get that feedback to actually become better, right? You know, you can be confident and curious all at the same time because that's not mutually exclusive. But when you have that unhealthy part of that ego showing up, it can really damage things. It can damage your relations with other people. So thinking about yourself, you know, when has your ego gotten in your way? When did letting go of your ego help you grow? Think about those questions. And feel free to answer one or both. You know, this is something I've struggled with a few times where being a Scrum Master in an organization that didn't know Scrum, you know, I was I knew more than everybody else. And I made sure everybody knew that I knew more than them. That didn't go over so well with certain people. And that was a struggle for me at first. And I really got a good swift kick in the butt with that. And yes, everybody's got an ego. I've kind of laid that out. It's the unhealthy ego that we want to try to combat as leaders. Not just ourselves, but what about our team? When you allow that unhealthy ego take control, you want to be that hero. But the best leaders don't need to be the heroes. So we've kind of hit all of our pillars, right? We've talked about, believing in people and believing in their outcome, believing in their ability to navigate themselves. We've talked about how enabling can really bolster somebody. And we've talked about how limiting our authority and understanding where to step in and where not to step in, where to let the horses run or where to rein them in, and the impact that has. We've talked about inclusion of different people. We've talked about how empathy is our superpower and listening and understanding. And we've hit that vulnerability part where it creates that team. And we've now just shown how that unhealthy ego really kind of sets things up in a bad way, right? And so, looking at do you believe? And now I've gave you a bunch of prompts about how these pillars have impacted you as a person, right? Maybe not as a leader, but maybe as somebody from a leader. And thinking about how all these pillars and thinking about how all these have impacted you. Here's a takeaway for you. This is kind of what we want to look at. We want leaders to become leaders to believe in. So what's the one thing I'm gonna look for one thing. What's the one thing you're gonna start doing, or you're gonna stop doing, or you might continue to do because maybe you're doing these really well, and you want to continue doing something. So what's the one thing you want to start doing, or stop doing, or continue doing? Think about that for a couple minutes. Yeah. A lot of great thoughts. A lot of great suggestions, a lot of great thoughts. I love seeing this. I love seeing what you're taking away from this and what you're going to kind of do. Because everybody can be a leader, whether you have that position of authority or not, right? And seeing people and seeing leaders wanting to become better leaders, that's something that I always like to see. I always like seeing others wanting to, because for me, I'm learning. I'm seeing what you're. It's like, hey, you know what? I need to watch that. I need to start believing in myself more. That's something I need to do. I'm back to square one in my journeys. So before we wrap up, I want to, as Agile, we want feedback, right? That's why we deliver short increments. That's why we do what we do. We want to get those feedbacks. So with that feedback, I'm asking, when you have a moment, the QR code, I put the link in the chat. I would love the feedback. I would love to know how this has impacted you. I'd love to know what your thoughts. Love to know how good or bad this was. That's how I'm going to get better. Like I said, I had to ask that for my team. Now I'm asking for you. What are things that this can do better? How was this impactful? I'll give you a minute to kind of go through that. It might take a minute. And the closing thoughts here is this. Leadership is hard. It is extremely hard because it requires balancing and the pressures from delivering the results. Right? That's part of it. We're not just here to be, have a cool deal. We actually have to deliver. That's important. But we have to balance that delivery with connecting as humans. And here's the little secret here. And I've seen this with managers I've worked with, good and bad. I've tried to imitate it myself in my leadership. When you focus more on the human connection, especially now in these times with AI and people losing jobs, when you have more of that connection to the humans on your team, you're going to get better results than just trying to drive those results. If you focus on driving and delivering results, you lose out on that connection. You lose out on the people who, in the beginning, we wanted to join those teams because leadership was great. When you make those connections, you are creating that scenario where you can become a great leader. and that people are going to want to follow. The more you put on that human connections will help drive the results that you're looking for, more so than processes, frameworks, anything like that. So it's hard. You got to balance the results and you got to balance the human connections. But I know we can do it. But the most important thing I want to also take away is, don't stop believing in yourselves. Don't stop believing in people.
That was great. Thank you, Matt. This was amazing. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
That was so awesome, so insightful. So thank you, Matt, for joining us today. I have some homework to do after this one, so this is always a good sign. So appreciate it, you taking the time and sharing this with us. Before we close, just wanted to ask if anyone has any questions for Matt we can address. Okay.
I was browsing the
Yeah.
chat, but I couldn't spot any questions. So if you have some verbal questions to address right now, it's a great time.
Okay, great. Well, you can contact Matt and connect with him on socials also. Before we go, thank you so much, Matt, for joining us. Thank you, everyone, for joining today and staying until the end of the session. Before we go, though, I want to ask you for a few more minutes, and I promise a big announcement at the end, so bear with us for that one. But before we go to the big announcement, I wanted to ask for your feedback for our community and for this session or for the sessions in the past, regardless if this was your first meetup with Agile Minds Romania or if you joined us every month since we initiated more than 1 year ago. Please take a few seconds to share your feedback about our community, about the events and what is expected for us to be able to grow and learn and respond to your needs and to your feedback. Just 3 simple questions, but those are invaluable for us. So appreciate you taking the time. And talking about feedback, one of the most frequent messages we get from our community is more in-person meetings, more in-person events. Let's meet and socialize and network and learn from each other from face to face. For those of you that don't know, since we created this community, we only were able to organize 1 in-person meeting, and that was last November. And we were very happy to receive such positive feedback before and after that event. So with that in mind, we have a big announcement for our next event, which is May 21st in person in Bucharest. We are going to announce it next week, so stay connected with us on LinkedIn and on Meetup. You'll be able to register in advance, so hurry, pick your spot because spots are limited. Registers as soon as seen the message. It is in Bucharest, as I said, because we are Agile Minds Romania, even though our community grew outside of Romania quite a lot recently. And we are hosted by our friends from Nagaro, Romania. And we have a very special guest invited to that meetup. His name is Günther Verheyen. He's a long-time Scrum practitioner. Matt agrees, who started applying Scrum in 2003, for those of you that don't know. And besides having engaged with so many teams throughout the years and organizations, he also published 2 acclaimed books about Scrum. Florin is sharing one of them with you on screen right now. And he partnered with Ken Schwaber on Scrum.org's professional Scrum series. So he has quite the experience, and I'm sure we can learn a lot from him. Our topic for that event is why Scrum, why Scrum works, the 6 essential traits of the game. And we will also, as usually, we try to keep our events as interactive as possible. So it's not going to be just a presentation. We'll learn from Gunther quite a lot, but after that, we'll break out in working sessions so we can learn from each other also. So hope to see as many of you there as well. Very excited about this one. And as I said, stay tuned on our socials, specifically LinkedIn. If we are not connected already, we have all the Agile Minds Romania team in here, as well as our company page. So hope to see as many of you there. And if not, if you're not from Bucharest or from Romania, come back to our monthly events online starting June. We'll announce those when we have them planned. So that was it. Thank you all for joining. We'll share our recording from today in the next couple of days, and hope to see you back again in our next events.
Thank you for inviting me. This was a treat. This was one of the first times I've done a meetup with this talk, so I really appreciate the feedback. I really appreciate the what's the word I'm looking for? The interaction and the thoughts that everybody put in the chat. It was great. And Manolo, obviously, thank you so much for the invite. Appreciate all of you for being here and spending time with me.
Thank you very much.
It was our pleasure. Come back again. Bye-bye.
So Matt, you also almost won the challenge when we started, but you were in third spot, right? With 6.
Yeah, it looks like that. Only because I think I set Blurg. I said Bogdan back a couple. I had that option. So
yeah. You had at some point the option to fire back at someone to keep him off track. You should have targeted Manolo.
He wasn't. I would have. He wasn't the choice.
He wasn't even reading the question. I think he was just randomly answering stuff.
Yep.
Okay. So thank you once again, and see you all guys soon again, even in person events, as Christina mentioned, or the next online sessions. It's always a pleasure to host these sessions, and we learn from each other. It's all amazing how this group grows and how the topics become more and more relevant, and we stay together for them. So big thank you.
Thank you.